Hi, I'm Sean Clark, and welcome to another episode of The Collection. Today, we are going to look at Freddy Krueger stuff, Nightmare on Elm Street stuff, which crosses over into Friday the 13th, obviously, because you got your Freddy versus your Jason, and they just going at it, doing what they do. So, we're going to pretty much look, I would say, mostly at prop stuff, but, you know, I do have a few toys and things lying around here that are Freddy related and Jason related, and maybe we'll take a peek at those just to kind of keep this interesting to the Friday fans and Elm Street fans. And we can start with like what's right behind me. Like for example, you're all familiar with the very first real Freddy action figure. There were those other ones like in the 80s, the little deformed one and the squeezies and the squirties and all that crap, but this was the Movie Maniacs McFarlane toys. Obviously signed by Wes Craven and Tony Caesar, who played Freddy in all the stunt scenes. One of the most amazing stunts, surprised it doesn't get talked about more, is when he's on fire, running through the basement and up the stairs, all in one take. Pretty insane fire burn. Tony was a master of fire burn stuff. So if you saw like Stay Puft Marshmallow Man when he was on fire in Ghostbusters, that was Tony. When the Thing busts through the wall in John Carpenter's The Thing on fire with the split head, that was Tony. He is a fire guy. On fire, jumping on top of the car to punch the windshield in Terminator. That was him doubling Arnold. Also signed by this other guy, Robert Englund. I guess who played the character too? I don't know. Wonder whatever happened to that guy. There we are. Yeah, signed by all three of them. Speaking of the Thing, not the character or the creature that Tony played. Well, technically, he played the Thing, and that's the Thing, but that's the Blair monster there. Right next there, again, just because it's right here, there's Tony's autograph again, because he played Ghostface in a couple scenes in the original Scream. Also, Wes Craven. Met Wes many times. As a fan, I met him. As a journalist, I interviewed him several times. But I was also fortunate enough to get to moderate a couple audio commentaries with him. If you own the special edition Blu-rays of Deadly Blessing or Swamp Thing, it was basically me and Wes sitting in a room on a couch watching the movie and talking. And that was a pretty cool, surreal moment to be able to do that. Also on here, just Matt Lillard, Skeet Ulrich, Lee Waddell, who was the original Ghostface, the very first one, killed Drew Barrymore, and Jamie Kennedy. And since we're talking Friday the 13th as well, we got like, just almost every dude who's ever played Jason on this thing. Doug Tate, Ari Lehman, Warrington Gillette, C.J. Graham, Richard Brooker, Ted White, Kane Hodder, Derek Mears, Spencer Stump, I think he was Little Jason, Freddy vs. Jason, Tom Morga, Caleb Gus, he was Little Jason in, what was it, the remake, the Friday remake, that's right, Steve Dash, Ken Kersinger, Dick, yeah, did I say Dick Wiend? I mean, I didn't get, I gotta get Glenn Ennis on this. Glenn Ennis. Very important. I'm sure there's others behind here, but I'm not going to sit here all day looking at action figures, but I will show one more, just because it's beautiful, and just signed by only Wes. I remember every time I did an audio commentary with Wes, I brought a small box of things to get signed, and he was a little bit of a curmudgeon about it, to be honest with you. It's like, dude, I came here, worked with you all day, and you mind just, and he'd kind of go like this. He'd go, okay. It was like, I don't know. It seemed like I was bothering him. One thing that's pretty cool is up here is the original Freddy Krueger makeup kit. Look at that picture in the bottom corner. Make you look nothing like him. But anyway, I always thought that makeup kit was cool, so that was a cool, just one of my many retro toys, or makeup kits, or Halloween-related things I own. I love this stuff, all this stuff that just brings me back to a happier time. People ask me, why do you collect all this stuff? What is the reasoning? What are you going to do with it? Why do you keep it in the package? Because it makes me feel good. When I walk in this room and I look at it, I think back to when I was a kid, when I used to have this Mickey Mouse nightlight in my bedroom, and I would stare at it as I fell asleep, and it was yellow looking, because when the light came on, it was yellow looking. And I remember, it's just, when I look at it, it makes me think of a happier time, a time when I didn't have to worry about bills. I didn't have to worry about wake up in the morning, my back hurts, crap like that. Stuff that us older people deal with, Reality. Reality sucks. Enjoy your childhood while you can. I know no kids are watching this, because only old people watch my shit. But anyway, enjoy life. Make it, what makes you happy. That's what it's about. What makes you happy. Let's go to A Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2. Freddy's Revenge. So this is a prop arm from Part 2. I'm going to take it out. I don't like taking it out. Well, that's not what she said. Ooh, you can smell the old latex and foam. Here we go. I'm going to regret doing this. It was a bitch to balance on this stupid thing. But here we go. Got a prop arm. Look at the little hands Mark Patton had. Little baby hands. Little Mark Patton hands. Anyway, I don't know if this was really cast off Mark's arm. I would think it would have been. But then foam does tend to shrink over time. Foam latex, and this is foam latex. I don't know if that split was part of the effect. I know this was like intercut. It's very quick. The shots are very quick with his real hand and real arm. And also, look at how tiny the little knives are compared to Robert's real glove. They're quite small, but, I guess technically that's just supposed to be the tip of them coming out. Let's see, this was Kevin Yeager, right? Kevin Yeager did this movie, so that'd be a question for him. Kev, what's the story behind this? Do you remember? It's also cool that it has the shirt sleeve, which is rather gross, attached to it. But this is a cool piece. My friend Brian really wants this. He'll never have it. Now, if I die, nay, let Brian have it. He can have this. That's it. Nothing else. Don't give him anything else. And if I'm killed, look into Brian, because let's go Freddy versus Jason. Since we're in this room, and there's some Freddy versus Jason stuff in here, we'll start here. This is a production-made silicone skin, Robert Englund from Freddy versus Jason. Unused, obviously, or it would have been painted. This was an extra silicone skin on the bust of Robert Englund. And as you can see, unused, but production made. Very cool. Usually once they use these skins, they toss them afterwards, because they're very thin and they get torn and stuff like that. And obviously they blend them into his actual skin. It's a thin makeup. If you pulled this up, it's a very thin makeup. I had Ken Kersinger sign this shoulder, and I was going to have Robert sign this shoulder at Monsterpalooza last year, but he canceled. He got the COVID. So I'm hoping he does another local show that I can bring the spy. And even though he's practically a neighbor, he lives in Orange County, I live in Orange County. I've bumped into him around town, actually. And we know each other. But I'm not like, hey, Bob, can I come by the house and have you? But I'll wait till I see him at a convention, and I'll get him to sign that. And since we're on busts, we're going to move from Freddy vs. Jason to Friday the 13th, Part 7, The New Blood. This bust right here, I used to have a mask company called Silver Champagne Novelties. And we produced masks mostly. We did some resin kits, but prop replica stuff. Anyway, Brad Harden, who worked for John Carl Buechler, was part of my company, and he created this bust on a actual bust of Kane Hodder using the actual makeup appliances they used in the film. Pieced it together and then did a one-piece mold on it, and we created this Jason bust. And the hockey mask from the mold as well. Removable hockey mask. Acrylic teeth, glass eye, chain. I'll tell you about the chain. Buy these at a pet store. Bird stores, like a parrot. It's a parrot chain. You just weather it and make it look all old and rusty. Parrot chain. Anyway, behind the scenes there. But as you can see, this was all from the movie molds. Got the back there, the spine. This was limited to only, I want to say we're limited this to 30 made, I think is what the number was. And believe it or not, at the time we were selling this, it was $1,500, which back then people thought was too much. Now people are throwing bigger numbers at me to try to buy this from me. And we only ended up selling, I want to say we sold like maybe 18 of them. It wasn't a high number. So there aren't that many out there. So if you own one, you've got a kind of a rare piece. But I'm more into screen use stuff or production made stuff nowadays. But this is from the molds, and came from Beekler's shop, semi-production made, you could say, way after the fact. I don't know. But it's a cool piece, and I want to keep it in the collection. So right now we're going to look at another Freddy vs. Jason item. So this is a production-made Jason cowl from Freddy vs. Jason, unpainted. That's why he's looking a little grayish light blue. I don't know, but it hasn't been painted. It's a silicone skin. Still needs to be cleaned up. And you can see this is sort of you can see it's Ken Krusinger's face under there. But this, I think this is because the face appliance fit over that, which I actually own the mold for the face appliance, the face that was never seen on camera. They shot one scene with it, according to Ken, and then they cut the scene. But anyway, this is Jason's head. Looks rather small, I don't think it's really shrunk much. Maybe it has a little bit, but it's on a foam bust of his head, so this would be actual size. But very cool piece. Bill Teresvakis, I think was how you pronounce his last name. He was the effects artist for the film. He unfortunately passed away a couple of years ago, heart attack, like at a young age, youngish. And they had a auction of his entire warehouse, basically his estate. And so I picked up quite a few items, including a lot of movie molds. Taking advantage of this moment. And I already had Kenny sign the two busts, but I didn't have you sign the one of you. Actually, I think probably because there might not have been a spot. I don't like to sign on the actual prop, but maybe that little bit on the front shoulder there on the front. Thank you, sir. You know what? I'm going to do that. There you go. There he is. Making it official. Is that working, or is it kind of?
Sean, you gotta ask him what the Big Mac did.
Of course, that's what you're looking at.
I see food.
He's like, is there anything in that?
I've been eating almost an hour. I want the bubble mixers and the Big Mac.
There's a McDonald's right by my house right there.
Gosh.
Is it working or no?
Yeah. I just can't fit the whole sword in, but here you go.
Okay. Thank you, sir. And I got your face mask with the Jason face in the garage. That's in the garage. There's some of the other ones down here, like the Demon Freddy and
yes, I saw those.
And the head that we made that out of the mold that I bought. The silicone one.
Yeah.
Yeah, and those hockey masks are from the hockey mold. But what the guy did that I got doing them, he apparently for all the messed up ones like that, they hand dremeled them after they molded them.
Oh, yeah.
So he did one for me like that. Here's a couple of the dead eyes. I guess one is little Jason's dead eye and one is yours.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah. That's my dead eye.
One movie mold of which was Freddy's severed head. And I will show you a casting from that mold right now. This is a silicone casting of Freddy's head from Freddy vs. Jason. The mold actually goes a lot lower, but this is to make it screen accurate. You know, it was severed. So it just had a couple teeth in there. If you look at the scene, they kind of intercut live his real head, you know, kind of with green screen action, with the fake head when Jason's walking with it, which would have been Doug Tate doing that scene. I have pictures, behind the scenes photos, I'll show you here, where Doug is with Robert when they were filming all that stuff. But so this is not the screen used head, this is from the mold. And yeah, just very cool piece to have. Josh Ludeman is actually the one casting these up and making them available to a few hardcore collectors that really want to own a piece of history. Very limited. I think it's like maybe 30 total made. But, you know, it's a nice preserving piece of history. I have the... Oh, well, I can't show it to you. That's right, because it's not here. I also got the screen-used mold for the hockey mask. And this is a casting directly out of the hockey mask mold. I do have a backup. See, the hockey mask mold is a plaster mold with a silicone skin. I do have an extra silicone skin that had wear, so they obviously cast a couple of them, so I can show you the backup silicone skin just to give you an idea of what it looked like. The one we're using to cast these up, Josh has currently. When they did the weathered masks for the film, basically they did them all by hand. They did them like this. They started out like this, and then with like a Dremel and tools, they tooled all the battle wounds and everything. And this is an example of one of them Josh did up for me, just to have one like this. Pretty cool. These are a couple castings out of the molds for Jason's dead eye. This is, I believe this is young Jason's dead eye. One of them's young Jason and one of them's old Jason. Maybe this is young and this is old. I can't remember, but I have the molds. Now, my favorite piece from the Freddy vs. Jason stuff that I obtained. Woo, look at that. This is the Demon Freddy. So this is a production-made skin, unpainted. They fortunately just cast it in a red silicone, so they didn't have to do too much painting, you know. And again, I had Kurzinger sign one side, want Robert to sign the other. I don't like to get props signed, so I wouldn't have the skin signed, because I think that's the prop. Where this is the bust of Robert underneath, but I thought that's okay. That's all right. I'm not a big fan of, like I said, of getting the actual prop signed. I kind of feel like it devalues the props when they're signed, you know? This is a makeup I really dig. Freddy vs. Jason isn't my favorite film in the franchise, but it's a lot of fun. It's definitely a fun film. But this Demon Freddy makeup I thought was really cool. I really liked this makeup. It was different enough. It's in the film so briefly that it's not like, oh, you know, come on, get back to the OG look, you know? But anyway, I love how it's got these, like, the holes like that. Everything, it's pretty cool. I know there was pieces of appliances out there, but I don't think anybody has a full one of this makeup out there that I know of. So, I know people want this one. Very sought after. So back in the 80s, there wasn't much merchandising for these films at all. And weird random shit would come out from time to time. And the Freddy and Jason and Victim spitballs Who came up with these and why? I don't know, but I have both of them. They're right up there. Take a look at them. They're a thing of wonderment. So I figured I'd go ahead and include these since we're talking about Jason. This replica right here, with the red chevrons, is the very first decent Jason replica mask I owned. It's not that good. It's okay. I don't know where I got it. I don't remember, but I had a bunch of people sign it, and there's a lot of people on there that have passed away. And then the one next to it, that is one of the ones we used to sell, a Friday the 13th Part 5 version that I've had the entire cast and director sign. And that one's pretty good. That one looks, pretty movie accurate. Now right here, these two masks were molded right off of Kane Hodder's screen used masks from Jason X. And the chrome one, the Cyber Jason right there, that is actually chromed. We had that, mine and my buddy who did the castings, he actually took them to a place and had them chromed, which makes it kind of extra cool. The only thing we don't have is the back piece. From what I understand, Kane Hodder didn't want anybody to have the back piece, is what I heard. And he's the only one, to my knowledge, who owns the piece from the back that the front locks into. So, anyway, one day I'll have it, Kane. I'll have it one day. So, I'm going to show you some of the molds from Freddy vs. Jason. These are just some that I have here. Like I said, Josh has some other ones right now. Let's start off with a little one. This is Jason Lips. Little Jason Lips. Little Jason Lips. So, this is just, these are just the appliance molds. That's probably his real face with some stuffing in it, in his mouth. And these are the actual lip pieces they would cast up to then, fix to his mouth. Pretty exciting mold right there. Not really. Here is this is one of those extra bucks I was talking about that goes inside the plaster. It has a plaster shell to keep it, sturdy. But as you can see, some pieces are falling off, and that's why they made backups, because as you keep pulling copies, they can tear, they can, fall apart. So this is an extra. This is like a backup one. I'd be willing to part with this one, because I got the other one. This says Robert Englund Experiment Number 1, but it's an ear. I have no idea. No idea what the story is behind this one. But, yeah. A weird ear. A weird Freddy ear. Little Jason, open carefully. Little Jason, something. Open it carefully. Don't mess around. Little Jason's ear. Not too exciting. But, it's crazy. All this stuff you got to go through. Just, to do a couple little gags or whatever. This, pretty unexciting, but heavy. Ugh. Freddy vs. Jason blisters. So, obviously somebody on their body was blistering. I don't know who. I haven't tried to screen match these blisters. I don't have that kind of time, but there it is. This came in a lot with other items that I wanted. So, this is really heavy and costs a lot to ship. I believe this was like a maquette, probably, for young Jason. Maybe they made this to cast up in resin or something to show the producers what young Jason was going to look like or something. Because it's obviously not screen used because it's so small. But as you can see, the front and back. I have not cast one of these up yet. But eventually we'll get around to it. Maybe even make a copy or two available to hardcore collectors. Who knows? Freddy's back. Freddy vs. Jason. You might recognize this makeup. That says Freddy's back. that I believe was on somebody's back in the film, as I recall.
A little message for me, will you?
Have not cast one of these up either. This is one that I really wanted, that in the auction you couldn't, I think it was sitting like this. You couldn't tell what it was. And if it wasn't for Ken Kersinger, the guy who played Jason himself, going down to the liquidation place and see it in person and identifying it, I wouldn't have known that's what was in this auction. So, it's Jason's face. So, start here. Ken Kersinger's face, his life cast, right? And this here is the unused face of Jason from the film. I have not cast one of these up yet, but I definitely am going to. But this is what the face looked like. Ken said they shot one scene with it, and that scene got cut. So, how cool is that? Definitely interested in seeing one of these cast up. Get around to it. And last but not least, the crown jewel of the Elm Street collection. This is a screen-used Freddy glove from Freddy's Dead, originally made for part 4, but used on screen in Freddy's Dead. And a screen-used sleeve, also from Freddy's Dead. The sleeve was in the scene where Robert is recreating the classic scene from part 1 where he's cutting his fingers off. That was on a special effects arm. That arm had been sold to a fan. This is the sleeve from that scene and put on, you know, for display, to display the glove. And this glove was on display in John Carl Buechler's office for years. This was his personal copy. And it's now in my collection. Now, again, you'll notice if you're a hardcore glove nerd that the backing looks different than the glove you see on screen most of the time in Freddy's Dead. But again, this was used for one insert shot. In fact, on the inside of the glove, it's marked as interchange glove or something to that effect. I'll have to look at what it said. I think it was like interchange. Now, there's also some behind-the-scenes story about this particular glove. Apparently, this glove was mainly used in the film for actual fighting stuff and had rubber claws on it. At the very end, they replaced those the rubber ones with the metal ones for the one insert shot. That's why, unlike most screen-used gloves, the blades are usually welded on. These have been epoxied on because it was kind of kit bashed at the last minute for that insert shot. That is what was told to the person I acquired it from by someone who worked for Buechler on the film and was on the production. And this was kind of one of those grail pieces because I've always felt like, as a horror dude, you got to have the main piece from each major horror franchise. So, for example, if you're saying Hellraiser, what do you need to have from Hellraiser? You need to have a box. Friday 13th, what do you need to have? You need to have a hockey mask. From Halloween, what would you think? It's got to be a Myers mask, right? Got a few of those. Phantasm, got to be a sphere. I have one of those. Texas Chainsaw Massacre, got to be a chainsaw. Got a couple of those. This was in a private collection for quite a long time. I was fortunate enough to be able to acquire it. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this episode. See you in the next one. Hey everybody! So people have been wondering, Sean, how do we get merch? How do we get t-shirts? How do we get Horror's Hollow Ground stuff? How do we get throw rugs? How do we get Thing with Two Heads stuff? How do we get blankets? You want a onesie for a baby, a kazoo. I don't think they do kazoos. Some people might even want Hollywood's hologram stuff. The collection with Sean Clark, nobody wants to wear that as a shirt. Anything that they'll slap the logos on, you want to be able to get it, right? So if you go to tpublic.com/user/malfunction, I think that's it. Yeah, tpublic.com/user/malfunction. You can order all kinds of good stuff. And people have been asking for Mark Beer's latest design. Mark Beer rules. He does a lot of our artwork, pretty much all of our artwork. The skull design. See it here? We're going to make that available now. Go to the website and order it now on anything you want. Am I moving my arms enough? I hope so. You want shirts, you want hoodies, you want things like that because you dig it. tpublic.com/user/malfunction. We appreciate you guys. Thank you for supporting the show. Thank you for supporting the channel. The more we grow this thing, the more content we can bring, the more stuff we can share with you guys. That's what it's all about, man. Being a community, like-minded people, into the same shit. Rock and roll.